So identity was paper documents, passport, a driving licence, a utility bill, and that was the way you proved who you were to a bank when you went and opened an account, or to government when you went and applied to benefits. That's now very old-fashioned and we need to move on. So over the last 20 years, identity has evolved to using electronic information, data, to verify identities. That means you don't have to use documents as often as you did. So sometimes you can open a new account with a bank, for instance, without having to produce a passport or a driving licence. Because in the background, someone like Experian can take your electronic data footprint and use that to identify you. And that's served us well for the last 20 years, but it's now coming of age. So next, we're going to move to digital identities. And that's where an individual establishes a highly trusted identity with an identity provider like Experian that they can use again and again with different organisations to log on, prove who they are, and instantly do business. So even as we move to digital identities, right now they're not that easy to use, and that's because they're still largely using passwords as a method to identify the individual. We need to move away from that to something that the individual doesn't have to remember. That's the problem with passwords, we forget them. So we need to move to biometrics, because that's something you are, something you always have with you, be it your fingerprint, your iris, your voice, your face. If you're using that to identify yourself, that's something you cannot forget, and that makes the whole thing easier. So the reason it's so important to identify people is so that we can avoid fraud. We need to know who the person is, that we're dealing with a genuine individual. There's a lot of identity theft, and it's a growing problem. We're seeing identity theft growing year on year, and current accounts, for instance, we've seen it surge over the last few years to record highs. So we must know with confidence that we're dealing with the right person, because if we're not, that person is going to both take goods or services from that business without paying for them, and also leave a bad footprint on the genuine individual's identity. So social identities play a part in creating digital identities. Those identities we are already using all over the place to log on and identify ourselves. As we move to trusted digital identities, what we need to do is to add a level of trust to those IDs, which isn't there today. So we'll see the identity market evolve over the next few years so that we move to trusted digital identities, possibly based on social identities we already have.